Jimin shatters Jungkook's pride in front of everyone, but Jungkook's shocking words silence the room in this fiery, emotional showdown. You think you deserve to stand here, Jungkook? You think you've earned any of this? Jimin's voice cut through the tension like a blade, sharp, merciless, echoing in the room where everyone had gathered but no one dared to breathe. The silence that followed was suffocating, a silence thick with judgment and disbelief. All eyes turned toward Jungkook, waiting, anticipating, because everyone knew that if there was one thing Jimin was known for, it was that he never backed down once he started tearing someone apart. Jungkook's gaze shifted slowly, scanning the faces around him. Is that what you really think, Hyung? His tone was steady, restrained, but underneath it was a storm so violent it threatened to break free at any second. Yes, Jimin snapped back. I've watched you for years. You hide behind talent, behind that image you built, but deep down, you're terrified someone will finally see you for what you are, a boy desperate for approval, not a man standing on his own. The words hung in the air like poison, sinking deep into the ears of every person in the room. Namjoon leaned forward slightly, as if ready to intervene, but something in Jungkook's posture stopped him. This wasn't just another argument. This was a battlefield, and neither side intended to surrender. You've always wanted to break me down, haven't you? Jungkook's voice rose, sharp with defiance. You hide your own insecurities by projecting them onto me. Admit it, Jimin. You can't stand that I refuse to bow under your words. Jimin's lips curved, not into a smile, but something darker. Don't twist this. You want respect, Jungkook? Earn it. Stop demanding loyalty when you've given nothing but arrogance in return. Do you even realize how many of us stayed quiet just to protect your ego? A murmur ran through the others, a ripple of unease. Hobie's hand clenched at his side. Yoongi's eyes narrowed, and even Taehyung shifted, tension radiating off him. But no one spoke. No one dared. I gave everything, Jungkook shot back, his voice cracking for the first time. Every performance, every sleepless night, every drop of sweat, I gave it all. And you still look at me like I'm nothing more than a shadow. Tell me, Jimin, what else do you want from me? My pride? My sanity? The room pulsed with electricity, the clash between them drawing everyone in like moths to fire. Jimin didn't hesitate. I want the truth you've been hiding while pretending to be perfect. Stop lying to them, stop lying to yourself. You think they don't see it? The cracks? The fear? A deadly pause followed. Jungkook's jaw tightened. His voice, when it came, was low, steady, almost frightening in its calm. Maybe I am afraid. Maybe I do doubt myself. But at least I don't destroy the people I claim to care about just to feel superior. The words dropped like thunder. For the first time, Jimin didn't immediately respond. The silence that followed was louder than any outburst. The others shifted uncomfortably, unsure of what to say. Unsure if saying anything at all would even matter. Namjoon finally stepped forward, his voice firm but wary. Enough, both of you. This isn't the way— No, let him finish, Jungkook interrupted, his eyes never leaving Jimin's. You've already torn me apart, Hyung. What's left? Tell him everything. Tell him the one thing you've always whispered when I wasn't listening. Jimin's eyes flickered, the mask of confidence faltering just enough to betray the weight of something unspoken. For the first time, his silence said more than his fury ever could. Jungkook took a slow breath, his words deliberate, each syllable laced with defiance and pain. You call me desperate for approval, but the truth is, you're terrified I'll surpass you. That's why you've tried so hard to chain me down with your words. Because deep down, you know if I break free, there won't be a place left for you. The room went deathly still. No one moved. No one breathed. The weight of Jungkook's words settled over everyone like a storm cloud refusing to pass. Even Jimin, always quick with a retort, stood frozen, his silence louder than any scream. And in that silence, everyone realized something terrifying. This wasn't just an argument. This was a fracture, and fractures, once they spread, never truly heal. You really think standing there and throwing accusations makes you stronger? Jimin's voice cut like steel, each word deliberate, pressing against Jungkook like a challenge he couldn't ignore. I don't care about being stronger, Hyung. I care about being honest. Jungkook shot back, stepping closer even though the tension was already suffocating. Every time you speak, it's like you want to rewrite my story. But guess what? I'm still here. And I'm done letting you control how people see me. The others shifted uneasily, the room thick with unspoken questions. Hobie's hands twitched as if he wanted to intervene, but the weight of what was unfolding held him in place. Yoongi's voice was a low growl, barely audible. "Both of you stop. You're crossing a line." But neither Jimin nor Jungkook seemed willing to relent. Jimin's eyes narrowed, cold and calculated. "Line? You think this is about lines? I've been watching you for years, thinking you were untouchable because everyone adored you. But the cracks, the lies, they're all here. And I'm not the one who will suffer if people see them." Jungkook's laughter was bitter, sharp, a sound that cut through the tension like a knife through fabric. "Cracks? Lies? You think you're the only one who's watched me? You think you know what's really going on inside my head?" "Yes," Jimin said simply. And the word slammed into the room with the weight of inevitability. "You don't," Jungkook said, his voice trembling for the first time with something more than anger, something that bordered on desperation. "You've spent so long tearing me down in front of everyone that you never stopped to ask why I do what I do, why I pushed myself to the limits you can't even imagine." Jimin's expression hardened. "So this is your confession? That you've been suffering in silence while we all pretend not to notice? You expect me to feel sympathy? You expect me to admire your pain?" "No." Jungkook's voice cracked like glass. "I don't expect anything from you, but I won't let you continue rewriting the narrative. You think everyone sees me as weak because of my mistakes, but they don't. And even if they did, it wouldn't matter, because what you call weakness is just me surviving your attacks." The room seemed to hold its breath, everyone drawn into the magnetism of their clash. Taehyung's hands clenched at his sides, the tension almost unbearable, while Namjoon tried to maintain control, though his calm demeanor was strained at best. "You've always enjoyed this, haven't you?" Jungkook said, stepping closer until the space between them was charged like electricity. "Breaking me down piece by piece, humiliating me in front of everyone and calling it truth. But you're scared, Jimin. Scared I'll prove you wrong, that I'll rise higher while you're still stuck clinging to your illusions of control." Jimin's eyes flickered, a brief lapse in his otherwise impenetrable armor. "You think this is about fear? No, Jungkook. This is about reality. And reality doesn't care about your excuses, your struggles, or your ambitions. You can scream and cry all you want, but the truth doesn't bend for anyone." "Then tell me the truth," Jungkook said, his tone low and unwavering. "Tell me the truth about what you really think of me. Not what you say to control others. Not what you whisper when no one's listening. Tell me, Hyung, and don't hold anything back." Jimin's pause was dangerous, heavy with unspoken grudges, hidden motives, and years of rivalry buried under polished smiles and public facades. "The truth," Jimin said finally, "is that I envy you. Every instinct, every spark of creativity, every time people laugh at your jokes, every time they cheer for you, I envy it all. And instead of admitting it, I destroy you because it's easier than facing my own inadequacy." The room shifted, the revelation hanging like a thundercloud over every person present. Jungkook stared at him, a mixture of astonishment and understanding burning through his chest. "So that's it? You've been tearing me apart because of jealousy?" Jimin didn't answer immediately, letting the silence amplify the weight of his confession. Then he spoke, quieter this time, almost vulnerable. "Maybe. Or maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's fear, too. Fear that if you outshine me, everything I've built will mean nothing." Jungkook's chest tightened, but he didn't retreat. Instead, his next words came like a reckoning. "Then we're not so different, are we? Fear, envy, pride, they live in both of us. But here's the thing, Hyung. I won't let them define me. Not anymore. You can try to destroy me, humiliate me, make everyone doubt me, but I'm standing here, and I'm stronger than you think. Not because I want revenge, but because I refuse to let my value depend on what anyone else believes, even you." Jimin's jaw clenched, and for the first time, his gaze faltered under Jungkook's intensity. "You think that's enough? You think saying it makes it true?" "I don't think," Jungkook said, voice steady and unwavering. "I know. I've worked for every step I've taken, every ounce of respect I've earned, every trust I've built, and no amount of your manipulation will take it from me. Not today. Not ever." The room was silent again, but this silence was different. It wasn't suffocating, it was charged. A fragile balance between anger, fear, respect, and the undeniable truth that Jungkook had just shifted the dynamic in a way no one could ignore. Namjoon finally stepped forward, breaking the tension, but carefully, as if stepping into a field littered with explosives. Enough, we're done here. But I want both of you to understand this isn't just about pride or envy. It's about what comes next. Are we going to let this destroy us? Or will we find a way to turn it into something stronger? Jungkook's gaze remained locked on Jimin. I'll decide for myself. But one thing's certain, whatever comes next, I won't be silenced again. Jimin's response was almost inaudible. A whisper meant more for himself than anyone else. We'll see, Jungkook. We'll see. Even in that whispered acknowledgement, the tension lingered, unbroken, unresolved, but transformed. The battle lines had been redrawn, the stakes clearer, and everyone present could feel the shift. And in that room, filled with unresolved grievances and unspoken truths, one fact stood undeniable. The war between Jimin and Jungkook had only just begun, and neither would ever be the same after this day. You think walking away makes you innocent? Jimin's voice cut sharply, echoing in the confined space as Jungkook didn't flinch. The room was charged, every person frozen in anticipation of what would happen next. I'm not walking away, Jungkook replied, each word deliberate, measured, controlled. I'm moving forward. You're the one clinging to the past, Hyung. You can't let go, can you? Let go? Jimin laughed, a sound brittle with fury. Do you even realize what you've done? Every step you've taken, every choice, every word you've thrown like it's truth, it's destroyed people around you, and now you act like you're the victim of your own triumphs? The tension thickened. Hobi's jaw clenched, Taehyung's hands twitched, and Yoongi's calm exterior seemed on the verge of cracking. Stop it! Namjoon finally interjected, his voice firm, but even he felt powerless against the storm raging between them. Stop it? Jimin's tone was incredulous, venom, laced. Stop it? You mean stop me from exposing the reality? Jungkook has been playing everyone like a game, pretending to be flawless, perfect, untouchable. But the truth is far uglier than anyone admits. Jungkook's gaze hardened, unwavering. And your truth is what exactly? That I'm supposed to bend, break, and accept your judgment because you claim the moral high ground? Tell me, Hyung, who appointed you the arbiter of everything I am or could be? I didn't appoint myself. Jimin shot back, his voice almost cracking under the weight of his own fury. I watched you get everything handed to you, Jungkook, while I worked in shadows, while I bled in silence, while you smiled, and everyone adored you. And you never saw me. You never acknowledged anything I sacrificed. Everything I endured. You were too busy being the golden boy. And now? Jungkook leaned closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous calm. Now you think tearing me apart publicly will fix it? Young, that's not justice. That's vengeance. And you know it. Deep down, you've always known it. Jimin's hands tightened into fists at his sides. Vengeance? He spat. If watching you crumble is vengeance, then maybe I've earned it. Maybe everyone should see the cracks in that perfect image of yours. Maybe they should see the boy who hides behind charm and talent to cover fear and doubt. Jungkook's laugh was low, sharp, and venomous. Fear and doubt? You've got them in spades, Hyung. Don't pretend you're above it. Don't pretend you've never looked at me and felt threatened, small, inadequate. Admit it. I know you feel it every time someone praises me over you. Admit it, Jimin. The silence after his words was suffocating. Jimin's lips pressed into a hard line. No one moved. No one dared speak. The tension was palpable, thick enough to taste. I don't need to admit anything to you, Jimin said finally, voice low but firm. You think knowing my insecurities makes you stronger? Knowing that I fear being overshadowed doesn't change what I've done. I did what was necessary. You wouldn't understand survival isn't pretty, Jungkook. Sometimes it's ruthless. Ruthless? Jungkook echoed, his voice a sharp blade against Jimin's. You call destroying me ruthless? You call breaking trust, betraying loyalty, manipulating perception ruthless? You call humiliation survival? Don't act like you're innocent, Jimin barked. You've made mistakes too, Jungkook. You think no one sees the ways you've hurt people? The ways you've lied and cheated? You think no one notices when you manipulate them with that smile? That charm? I see it. Everyone sees it. Jungkook's tone dropped, deliberate, cold. Maybe they do, but I own it. I don't hide it. I don't deny it. And unlike you, I don't pretend that exposing someone else's flaws elevates me. That's the difference, Young. I own my mistakes. You hide behind yours and use them as weapons. You think I'm using anything as a weapon? Jimin hissed. You think all the things I said, all the things I exposed, were because of envy? No. I did it because I couldn't stand idleness. I couldn't stand your pretense. Someone had to wake you up. Someone had to show the world the truth about you. Jungkook tilted his head slightly, his voice calm, cutting, undeniable. And in doing so, you woke up what exactly? Contempt? Hatred? Fear? Young, congratulations. You've built a throne on rubble, but don't think it makes you king. I don't need validation from you. I don't need to prove myself to you. I've survived every blow you've thrown, every word, every scheme, and I'll keep surviving, whether you like it or not. Jimin's response was silent for a moment, heavy with thought. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter, almost introspective. You're harder than I expected. Maybe that's why this is so frustrating. You refuse to break, even when I've done everything to shatter you. And maybe that's exactly why I'm still standing, Jungkook said, voice unwavering. You think breaking someone down proves strength? No, Young. Strength is in rising after every attempt to crush you, in standing tall when everyone expects you to fall. That's where true power lies. Not in humiliation, not in envy, not in fear. The room fell silent, each person absorbing the weight of Jungkook's words. They weren't just defiance, they were a reckoning, a declaration, and an exposure of everything that had been hidden beneath the surface. Jimin's voice, when it came, was almost a whisper. You're fearless. Or maybe you're reckless. Either way, it changes nothing. We're not done. Jungkook's eyes narrowed, but his voice was steady. We're done with the lies. Done with hiding. Done with pretending. If you want war, Hyung, then let it be honest. Let it be real. No more facades. No more manipulation. Let's see who truly stands when the dust settles. Namjoon stepped in, trying to anchor the chaos. But the air between Jimin and Jungkook was a storm no words could calm. This isn't about winning or losing. It's about what comes next. Decide now if you want to destroy each other or build something stronger. Jungkook looked at Jimin, and for the first time, the challenge in his eyes wasn't anger, it was something deeper. Determination, conviction, and a quiet certainty that no matter what came next, he would not be silenced, controlled, or defined by anyone. Jimin swallowed, his silence speaking volumes. The war had escalated, far beyond pride or jealousy, far beyond the surface. And in that silence, everyone realized the battle between them wasn't just a personal clash, it was a reckoning that would ripple through every life connected to them. And as the room held its collective breath, one thing was clear. Nothing would ever be the same again. Do you even realize what you've done this time? Jimin's words landed like blows, each one striking with the weight of accusation and years of buried resentment. Jungkook didn't flinch, but the room seemed to constrict around him, every heartbeat echoing the tension between them. I know exactly what I've done, Jungkook replied, his voice steady, controlled, carrying a weight that silenced even those on the periphery of their confrontation. And if you want to blame someone, Hyung, blame me. But don't act like I'm the only one responsible for this chaos. Jimin's laugh was sharp, almost bitter. Chaos? This isn't chaos. This is the truth spilling over. And you, Jungkook, are the one who can't handle it. You pretend everything is under control, that every smile and every step forward is perfection, but the cracks are everywhere. And now, everyone sees them. Everyone. You think showing me my flaws makes you superior? Jungkook snapped, his tone biting, yet composed. Do you really believe that humiliating me, pointing fingers, exposing me in front of others makes you stronger? It doesn't. It only shows the fear and envy you've carried all this time. Jimin's eyes hardened, his response almost immediate. Envy, maybe. Fear, absolutely. But you, Jungkook, have no idea what it takes to survive while everyone expects you to be flawless. You've had people cheering you on, protecting you, loving the image you've built. And I've watched, always watching, sacrificing, bleeding, while you smiled and moved forward, oblivious to the people you stepped over. You're wrong, Jungkook said, his voice low but firm, resonating with conviction. I've never been oblivious. I've felt every sacrifice, every effort, every doubt of everyone around me. And yet, here I am, standing. Not because I manipulated anyone, not because I destroyed others to get ahead, but because I faced it, all of it, and I'll keep facing it. A tense silence followed. The others in the room exchanged uneasy glances, sensing that the exchange had crossed from rivalry into something far deeper, something irreversibly raw and personal. "You think you're brave?" Jimin asked, his tone dripping with challenge. "You think confronting me makes you strong? You're reckless, Jungkook. You've underestimated the consequences of your actions, and now everyone is paying the price." "And what exactly are the consequences, Hyung?" Jungkook countered, each word deliberate, cutting through the tension. "Do you mean the way people look at us? Or do you mean the truth that's been hiding under the surface for years? I'm not afraid anymore. If they judge me, if they doubt me, if they question my motives, it doesn't matter. I'm done bending to someone else's narrative." Jimin's lips pressed into a thin line, his breathing measured, controlled, though every muscle in his body seemed to vibrate with restrained fury. "You're reckless. You think defiance is courage, but it's stupidity. You've ignited something here, Jungkook, something that won't be contained. Do you understand that?" Jungkook's eyes didn't waver. "I understand perfectly. I've seen the fire you've built. I've felt its heat for years, and I've survived it. If this is what it takes to prove that I'm more than the expectations, the judgments, the assumptions placed on me, then so be it. I'll face it. Every consequence. Every challenge. Every single one." The others watched in silence, the room saturated with the tension between past grievances and present defiance. Taehyung's hands tightened at his sides. Hobi's jaw was set, and Yoongi's normally calm demeanor was strained with anticipation. "Every word you've said tonight, every accusation, every exposure, every attempt to break me." Jungkook's voice dropped lower, resonant and unyielding. "It's all proof that you know I can't be broken. That's why you keep attacking, why you keep pushing. You want to see me crumble, but it won't happen. Not today, not ever." Jimin's pause was almost imperceptible, but it carried the weight of a lifetime of rivalry and unspoken truths.
"You really think you're untouchable? That your words alone make you immune?"
"I don't think I'm untouchable," Jungkook replied. "I know I'm not. But I also know that my value isn't determined by your attacks, by your envy, or by the perception of anyone else. My worth comes from me, from every choice I've made, every risk I've taken, and every time I've refused to bow." The room was quiet, each person absorbing the gravity of what had been said. This wasn't a simple argument, it was a reckoning. A confrontation that had stripped away pretenses and exposed the raw core of both men. Jimin's voice was softer now, almost a whisper. "And if standing against me means standing alone?" Jungkook's response was immediate, unwavering. "Then I'll stand alone. Better alone than living in the shadow of someone else's insecurities." For a long moment, Jimin said nothing. The silence between them was heavy with unspoken truths, long-held grudges, and the realization that nothing would ever return to the way it was before. "And what about the people around us?" Jimin finally asked. "Do they matter? Do you care about the bonds you risked tearing apart tonight?" "I care about the truth," Jungkook said simply. "And if seeking it hurts some feelings, exposes lies, or creates tension, so be it. I'll bear that burden. I'll bear it all. But I won't compromise who I am to make anyone else comfortable." The tension in the room began to shift. It was still charged, still dangerous, but something fundamental had changed. The confrontation had peeled away layers of pride, fear, and envy, leaving only a raw, undeniable truth. Jungkook had chosen himself, and nothing could shake that choice. Jimin's expression hardened once more, but this time there was a trace of reluctant respect in his eyes. "You're stronger than I gave you credit for," he said finally. "But strength alone isn't enough. You'll need strategy, patience, and allies. Don't think standing tall alone is enough to survive what's coming." "I don't need to survive what's coming," Jungkook said firmly. "I need to be ready for it. Every challenge, every betrayal, every expectation, I'll face it all. And I'll face it on my terms, not yours, not anyone else's." Namjoon stepped forward again, cautiously, sensing that the worst of the storm had passed but understanding the fragility of the new equilibrium. "Then, let's make one thing clear," he said. "Whatever comes next, we face it together, as a team. But no more secrets, no more manipulation, no more pretending. Everyone deserves the truth, and no one should be above accountability." The room remained tense, but the atmosphere had shifted. The confrontation had peeled away layers of control, exposing raw emotion, vulnerability, and unvarnished truth. And in that charged space, everyone knew that the path forward would be no less turbulent, but for the first time, it would be honest. Jimin's final words were almost inaudible, yet they carried a weight that none could ignore. You've changed the rules tonight, Jungkook, but don't think this ends here. Nothing about us, about this, is ever simple. I wouldn't want it any other way, Jungkook replied, voice unwavering, resolute. I didn't survive this long by expecting simplicity. The room fell into a quiet tension once more, each person processing the implications of the confrontation, the raw truths revealed, and the undeniable shift in the balance between two forces that had long defined the dynamics around them. And even in that quiet, one thing was clear. The next chapter would test every limit, expose every hidden motive, and demand the courage to face a reality neither of them could ignore. You've crossed every line this time, Jungkook, Jimin said, his tone razor sharp, each word weighted with years of buried resentment and anger. You think walking away from everything we've built, from every agreement, every understanding, makes you untouchable? It doesn't. It only makes you reckless. I'm not walking away, Jungkook replied, his voice low, firm, unwavering. I'm moving forward. You can't control me, Hyung. Not my actions, not my choices, not my truth. Jimin's laugh was harsh, brittle with fury. Truth? Don't speak to me about truth. You've manipulated, deceived, and hurt more people than you realize. And yet, you stand there, daring me to confront you. That arrogance, it's dangerous, Jungkook. Dangerous and foolish. Foolish? Jungkook's voice cut through the room like a blade. Foolish is thinking that destroying someone else proves strength. Foolish is believing that humiliation equates to victory. I've survived every attack, every insult, every public scrutiny, and here I am, stronger than you ever imagined. The room was tense, saturated with anticipation and unspoken questions. Taehyung's hands clenched at his sides. Hobi's jaw tightened, and Yoongi's calm demeanor showed cracks under the weight of what was unfolding. Namjoon stepped forward, his voice firm, trying to mediate, but even he felt powerless against the storm raging between them. You think surviving makes you superior? Jimin pressed, his eyes sharp, unwavering. You think endurance alone gives you the right to challenge me? You've made enemies of everyone around you, Jungkook. Friends, allies, people who trusted you. They're all casualties in your rise. Do you understand that? I understand perfectly, Jungkook said calmly, deliberately, his gaze fixed on Jimin. And I accept it. If standing up, being honest, being myself makes others question me, doubt me, or even turn against me, then so be it. I won't compromise who I am to appease anyone. Not you, not the world, not even myself. Jimin's lips pressed into a hard line, his fists clenching at his sides. You've become so arrogant, so inflexible. Don't you realize that your actions could destroy everything? Not just your reputation, but the bonds we've all worked to maintain. You think this is a game, Jungkook, but it's not. It's reality. And reality doesn't forgive recklessness. I don't need forgiveness, Jungkook shot back, his voice unwavering, his tone resolute. I need accountability. Not for me, for you, for everyone who's been part of this circle. For the first time, I want clarity, honesty. No more pretenses, no more manipulation, no more secrets. That's the only way forward, Hyung. That's the only way any of us survive. Jimin's expression softened ever so slightly, but the tension between them remained palpable, almost unbearable. And what about the people who've been hurt? The people who've trusted you, who've believed in you? They've seen the truth, Jungkook said simply, his voice firm. And if they're still standing, if they're still willing to trust me despite everything, then it's because they recognize who I am, not who you want me to be. The room seemed to hold its collective breath. The others exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the magnitude of what had just been said. This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a reckoning, a shift in the balance of power and truth that had defined their dynamics for years. You think that makes you untouchable? Jimin asked, his tone quieter now, almost introspective. You think that declaring your truth shields you from the consequences of your choices? I don't think I'm untouchable, Jungkook replied calmly, but I am accountable. Every step I take, every word I speak, every action I make, I own it. And unlike you, I don't wield truth as a weapon to break others. I use it to build, to confront, to survive. That's the difference, Hyung. That's what sets us apart. Jimin's gaze faltered for the first time, a flash of vulnerability breaking through his otherwise unyielding exterior. You're fearless, he said quietly. Or maybe reckless. Either way, you've forced a reckoning tonight. A reckoning I never expected. And yet, I can't deny it. You've earned it. Jungkook's eyes remained steady, unwavering. Earned what? Respect? Validation? None of that matters. I've earned the right to be myself, and that's all I need. Namjoon stepped forward cautiously, sensing the fragile equilibrium. Then let's make one thing clear, he said. Whatever comes next, we face it together. No more secrets, no more manipulation, no more hiding. Everyone deserves honesty, and no one should be above accountability. The tension in the room shifted slightly, from confrontation to uneasy understanding. The battle lines hadn't vanished, but the air between them now carried the weight of acknowledgement, truth, and raw emotion. Jimin's voice was quieter now, almost a whisper, but heavy with meaning. You've changed the rules tonight, Jungkook, and nothing will ever be the same. I wouldn't want it any other way, Jungkook replied firmly. I've survived this long by refusing simplicity, by embracing every challenge, and by confronting every obstacle without fear, and I'll continue to do so. The room fell into silence, each person processing the implications of the confrontation. The raw truths revealed, the challenges faced, the emotional intensity, all of it had reshaped the landscape of their relationships. And while the storm had passed for now, everyone knew that the aftermath would demand courage, resilience, and unwavering honesty. You've made your choice, Jimin said finally, and I've made mine. But understand this, our battle isn't over. It has only begun. Every step forward, every word spoken, every secret revealed will shape what comes next, and none of us will escape the consequences. Jungkook's gaze remained unwavering. I'm ready. Every challenge, every betrayal, every expectation, I'll face it all, and I'll do it on my own terms, because the only truth I trust is my own. The room exhaled as the intensity of the confrontation ebbed slightly. The emotional and psychological stakes had been raised higher than ever before. And in that charged silence, one undeniable fact emerged. The conflicts, revelations, and personal reckonings of this day would echo far beyond the walls of the room. And as the dust settled, everyone knew that the story was far from over. The fires of rivalry, trust, ambition, and raw emotion had been ignited, and nothing would ever be the same again. You think you can just walk in here and pretend everything is normal? Jimin's voice cut through the silence, sharp, accusing, impossible to ignore. Jungkook didn't blink, didn't hesitate. The air between them was electric, heavy with tension, and everyone in the room sensed that the storm was far from over. I never pretended, Jungkook said evenly, his tone measured but laced with fire. I've never pretended anything. Every step I've taken, every word I've said, every move I've made, you've watched. And now you choose to confront it, as if I'm the one who's been hiding. Jimin's laugh was hollow, brittle with anger. Hiding? You? Don't flatter yourself. You've been playing a game for years, Jungkook. A game where everyone thinks they know the real you, but no one does. You've manipulated situations, twisted words, and let others take the fall. And tonight, it's all coming back. And yet, Jungkook replied, stepping closer, unyielding. Here I stand. Not manipulated, not broken, not ashamed. Every blow you've thrown, every accusation you've leveled, it's proof that I've survived, that I've learned, that I've grown stronger. That's the reality you refuse to see, Hyung. Jimin's eyes narrowed, and the room felt like it had shrunk around them. The tension pressing down on every person present. Hobie's fingers flexed, Taehyung's hands tightened, and Yoongi's usual calm was strained. All of them caught in the gravitational pull of the confrontation. You really think surviving gives you the right to challenge me? Jimin spat, his words laced with venom. Do you think enduring pain, enduring betrayal, makes you superior? You've made enemies everywhere, Jungkook. Friends, Allies, people who trusted you, they've all been collateral in your rise. Can't you see that? I see it, Jungkook said quietly, but with unyielding conviction. I see every consequence, every mistrust, every doubt, and I accept it. If my actions create tension, if my choices make others question me, if they turn away, that's on them. But I will not betray my truth for anyone. Not you, not the world, not even myself. Jimin's chest heaved, his fist trembling with restrained anger. You've become so arrogant, so inflexible. Do you realize that your recklessness could destroy everything? Not just your reputation, but the people who trusted you, the people who believed in you. You think this is a game, but it's reality, and reality doesn't forgive stupidity. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Jungkook said sharply. I'm asking for recognition of truth. Not my truth to prove myself to you, but the reality that we've all been living in. I refuse to compromise my identity, my values, my choices, to satisfy anyone's ego, including yours. Jimin's expression faltered slightly, a flicker of vulnerability piercing through his usual controlled exterior. And if standing for the truth means standing alone, then I'll stand alone, Jungkook replied immediately resolute. Alone is better than living in the shadow of someone else's fear, envy, or insecurity. Better to face adversity with integrity than to surrender my soul to manipulation. Namjoon's voice broke the rising tension, calm yet forceful. Enough. Both of you have laid bare years of resentment, ambition, and misunderstanding. But this isn't just about ego or rivalry. It's about the choices we make next. Will we let this tear us apart, or will we turn it into something stronger? The answer isn't simple, but it's crucial. You think there's a simple answer? Jimin asked, bitter, almost incredulous. You think we can untangle years of lies, betrayals, and manipulations with a single conversation? You're naive, Jungkook. But maybe that's what makes you dangerous. You refuse to be tamed, to be controlled, and that terrifies me. Jungkook's gaze was steady, unwavering. I'm not naive. I'm prepared. I've faced the consequences, accepted the pain, embraced the challenges, and I've learned that no amount of manipulation or judgment can define me. I am my own measure, Young, and I'll continue to prove it every single day. The room fell silent, but it wasn't peaceful. It was the calm before another storm, a tension so thick it could be sliced with a knife. Everyone present felt it, the collision of two forces, two wills, two truths that refused to bend to one another. Jimin's voice softened slightly, almost reflective, but it carried the weight of years of conflict. You've grown stronger than I anticipated. You've survived challenges that would have broken most people, and yet you've also become reckless. And reckless people hurt those they care about without realizing it. I know the risks, Jungkook said calmly. I know the consequences. But I won't let fear dictate my actions. I won't let others' perceptions shape my identity. If that hurts someone, I bear the responsibility, but I will not betray myself. Not for you, not for anyone. A long silence followed, each person absorbing the magnitude of the confrontation. The room was no longer just a space. It had become a crucible, refining truths, exposing vulnerabilities, and reshaping the dynamics that had defined them for so long. You've changed the rules tonight, Jimin said finally, his voice almost a whisper, yet heavy with meaning. And nothing will ever be the same. Everything we knew, everything we believed, it's all different now. And I don't know if we can go back. I don't want to go back, Jungkook replied firmly. I want to move forward, stronger, honest, unafraid. And I'll face whatever comes next on my terms, with my choices intact and my truth uncompromised. Namjoon stepped forward again, cautiously, but with a decisive tone. Then let's be clear. Whatever comes next, we face it together. No more secrets, no more manipulation, no more facades. Everyone deserves the truth, and no one is exempt from accountability. The tension in the room began to shift subtly. It was still thick, still charged, but the confrontation had peeled back layers of pride, fear, and envy, leaving behind something raw, undeniable, and real. Jimin's final words were quiet, almost reflective. This isn't over. It never will be. Every choice we make from this point forward, every decision, every word, every action, will shape what comes next, and none of us can escape the consequences. Jungkook's voice remained unwavering, resolute, commanding. I'm ready. Every challenge, every betrayal, every expectation, I'll face it all. And I'll do it on my terms. Because the only truth I trust is my own. As the room absorbed the intensity of the confrontation, one undeniable reality emerged. The conflicts, the revelations, the emotional and psychological reckoning had shifted everything. The fires of rivalry, trust, ambition, and unspoken truths had been ignited, and no one could ignore the consequences. Nothing would ever be the same again, and as they faced each other, the unspoken acknowledgement was clear. The battles were far from over, but the war for truth, identity, and integrity had reached a decisive turning point. Do you even realize what you've just done? Jimin's voice was sharp, slicing through the silence with accusation and fury, every syllable reverberating through the room. Jungkook didn't flinch. He met Jimin's gaze, unyielding, aware of the storm he had just ignited. I know exactly what I've done, Jungkook replied calmly, though the fire in his eyes betrayed his controlled exterior. And if anyone has a problem with it, they can face it with me. I'm done hiding, done compromising, done letting others define me. Jimin's laugh was brittle, laced with disbelief. Hiding? Compromising? You think what you did was bravery? No, Jungkook. That was recklessness, selfishness, wrapped in the illusion of courage. You've hurt people, friends, allies, everyone around you, and you stand there daring me to confront you. That arrogance, it's infuriating. And yet, here I stand, Jungkook said, stepping closer, his voice unwavering, deliberate, not broken, not manipulated, not afraid. Every blow, every betrayal, every secret exposed it all proves one thing. I am stronger than you imagined, stronger than you believe possible. That's reality. Hyung, Jimin's fists clenched at his sides, his breathing tight and measured, the tension radiating from him like a storm ready to break. You really think surviving gives you the right to challenge me? Do you think endurance alone grants superiority? You've alienated allies, burned bridges, and risked everything, Jungkook. And you still dare to confront me? I see it all, Jungkook replied calmly. I see every consequence of my choices, every doubt cast my way, every tension I've created, and I accept it. I don't need forgiveness. I don't need validation. I just need truth. And I will face whatever comes, whoever stands against me, because I refuse to compromise my identity for the comfort or ego of anyone. Jimin's lips pressed into a hard line, his jaw tight, the fury in his gaze flickering with vulnerability. You've become so arrogant, so inflexible. Don't you understand the danger of your actions? You risk more than your reputation. You risk the trust and loyalty of everyone who believed in you. You're playing with fire, Jungkook, and fire is the only thing I've ever thrived in, Jungkook said, voice low but unwavering, deliberate. I've survived every challenge, every betrayal, every expectation placed on me. And I'll survive this, because I am not defined by fear, by envy, or by anyone's perception of me. I define myself. The room seemed to shrink around them, the tension so thick it was almost tangible. Everyone present, Hobi, Taehyung, Yoongi, Namjoon, felt the weight of the confrontation. No one spoke. No one dared interrupt. The space had become a crucible, burning away pretenses, exposing raw truths. You really think that makes you untouchable? Jimin asked, voice tight, bitter, almost incredulous. Declaring your truth doesn't shield you from the consequences, Jungkook. Actions have weight, words have power, and the decisions you've made tonight, they'll reverberate far beyond this room. I know the consequences, Jungkook said, his gaze steady, unwavering. And I'll bear them. I don't fear judgment, criticism, or rejection. I've faced them all before, and I've learned something crucial. The only way to survive is to confront life with honesty, conviction, and relentless persistence. That's what I've done, Hyung. That's what I will continue to do. Jimin's voice softened slightly, almost reflective, yet still brimming with intensity. And if standing for truth means standing alone, then I'll stand alone, Jungkook said immediately, resolute. Alone is better than living under the shadow of someone else's insecurities or manipulations. Better to face adversity with integrity than to compromise oneself to avoid discomfort or conflict. Namjoon's voice broke through the tension, firm, authoritative, attempting to mediate, yet acknowledging the immensity of what had transpired. Enough. Both of you have exposed years of rivalry, resentment, and misunderstanding. But it's no longer about who is right or wrong. It's about what happens next. Will this tear us apart, or will it forge something stronger? There are no simple answers, but the next choices matter more than anything else. You think there's a simple answer? Jimin asked, bitter, incredulous. Untangling years of manipulation, betrayal, and secrecy is not something solved with a single confrontation. You're naive, Jungkook. But maybe that's why you're dangerous. You refuse to be contained, to be controlled. That terrifies me more than you know. I'm not naive, Jungkook replied calmly. I'm prepared. I've faced every consequence, every pain, every challenge. I've learned that no one else's perception can define my worth. I cannot be broken by envy, by betrayal, or by judgment. I control my own path, Young. That's the difference between us. The room fell silent, but it was not peaceful. It was heavy with anticipation. The quiet after a storm. The stillness before the next wave. Everyone present felt it. The clash of two forces, two truths, two wills that refused to bend. You've changed the rules tonight, Jimin said finally, voice quieter, almost reverent. Everything we knew, everything we believed, everything we built, it's all different now. And I don't know if we can ever go back. I don't want to go back, Jungkook replied firmly. I want to move forward, stronger, honest, unafraid. I will face whatever comes next on my terms, and I will not compromise my identity or integrity for anyone. Namjoon stepped forward decisively. Then let's be clear. From this moment on, we face everything together. No more lies, no more manipulation, no more hidden agendas. Everyone deserves the truth, and no one is exempt from accountability. The tension in the room shifted subtly, a slight release of the pressure, though the intensity remained. The confrontation had stripped away layers of pride, fear, and envy, leaving behind raw, undeniable truths. Jimin's voice was quiet now, almost reflective. This isn't over. Every choice we make from now on, every word spoken, every action taken, will shape the path ahead, and none of us will escape the consequences. Jungkook's voice remained firm, unwavering, resonant. I'm ready. Every challenge, every betrayal, every expectation, I will face them all, and I will do so on my terms. The only truth I trust is my own. The room exhaled as the intensity ebbed slightly, the weight of revelation and confrontation settling into a tense equilibrium. The personal and psychological reckonings had shifted the dynamics irrevocably. Rivalries, trust, ambition, and unspoken truths had ignited. Nothing would ever be the same. And as they stood, facing each other, the unspoken acknowledgement was clear. The wars of the past had led to this crucible, and the future would demand courage, integrity, and resilience from every one of them. The challenges ahead would test every bond, every value, and every decision, and no one could escape the repercussions of this reckoning. You don't get to lecture me, Jimin, Jungkook said, his voice sharp, controlled, carrying the weight of every insult, every accusation, every hidden grudge that had been festering for years. You think pointing fingers, humiliating me in front of everyone somehow makes you right? It doesn't. It only proves how much fear you've been carrying, fear of losing control, fear of being exposed, fear of facing yourself. Jimin's laugh was bitter, almost hollow, echoing in the room with an edge that made the others flinch. Fear? You think this is about fear? No, Jungkook. This is about truth, about responsibility, about recognizing the damage you've caused. You've manipulated situations, people, and emotions for years, and now it's finally catching up to you. Do you realize that? I realize everything, Jungkook said firmly. I realize every consequence of my actions, every mistake, every risk. But unlike you, Hyung, I don't hide behind anger to avoid accountability. I face it. I own it. And I will continue to do so, no matter how hard you try to break me. Jimin's eyes narrowed, the tension in the room thickening, suffocating. You really think standing tall, declaring your truth makes you untouchable? You think anyone will forgive the betrayals, the lies, the secrets you've kept? You're naive, if you believe that, Jungkook. Utterly naive. Naive? Jungkook repeated, his tone sharp, resonant, I'm not naive. I'm aware. I've counted every risk, measured every consequence, and accepted the weight of every decision. I don't need anyone's forgiveness because I am not seeking it. I only seek honesty from myself, from you, from everyone who's been part of this circle. And if truth hurts, then let it hurt. Better to face reality than to live a lie. The room seemed to shrink around them, the others caught between shock and awe, unable to intervene, yet feeling the gravity of what was unfolding. Hobie's fingers twitched with tension, Taehyung's jaw tightened, Yoongi's calm facade wavered, and Namjoon's eyes reflected concern mixed with the recognition that this confrontation would reshape everything. You really think enduring pain, enduring betrayal, and enduring scrutiny makes you superior? Jimin asked, his voice tight, controlled, but sharp with raw emotion. You've alienated allies, shattered trust, and risked every bond. And now, you dare to challenge me? To call me out on my fears, my control, my caution? You've crossed a line. I've crossed lines before, Jungkook replied evenly, his voice unwavering, deliberate. And I've learned that lines exist only until someone is brave enough to step beyond them. I am not afraid of consequences, Hyung. I am not afraid of judgment. I am not afraid of the truth. And tonight, you've witnessed that. Jimin's fists clenched, his breathing measured, his body taut with anger. But his eyes flickered with the faintest glimmer of reluctant recognition. You've grown stronger than I expected. You've survived challenges, endured betrayals, faced scrutiny, and yet you've become reckless, Jungkook. And reckless people hurt those around them, often without realizing it. I know the risks, Jungkook said firmly. I know what I'm doing. I know the consequences, and I accept them. But I will not compromise my identity, my values, or my truth to placate anyone, not even you. If that hurts someone, I will bear the responsibility, but I will not betray myself. Namjoon finally stepped forward, his voice firm, decisive, attempting to bring some order to the volatile space. Enough. Both of you have exposed years of tension, resentment, and unresolved conflict. But it's not about winning or losing. It's about what comes next. Will this break us, or will it forge something stronger? There are no simple answers, but the choices we make now will define everything. You think there's a simple solution? Jimin asked, bitter, incredulous. Untangling years of betrayal, manipulation, and unspoken truths is not something fixed with a single conversation. You're brave, Jungkook, maybe even dangerously naive. But you refuse to be controlled, to be contained, and that's terrifying. I'm not naive, Jungkook replied calmly. I am prepared. I've faced consequences, endured pain, and survived betrayal. I've learned that no one else's perception can define me. I cannot be broken by envy, by manipulation, by fear. I am my own measure, Hyung. That is the difference between us. The room fell silent, but it was not peaceful. It was charged, heavy, tense, the weight of confrontation, of unspoken truths, of psychological and emotional reckoning. Everyone present felt the collision of wills, the clash of identity, the spark of raw emotion. You've changed everything tonight, Jimin said, finally, voice quieter, reflective yet powerful. Every assumption, every expectation, every rule we followed, it's all been rewritten. And I don't know if there's a way back. I don't want to go back, Jungkook said firmly. I want to move forward, honest, strong, unafraid. I will face whatever comes next on my terms, and I will not compromise myself for anyone or anything. Namjoon stepped forward, clear-eyed and deliberate. Then let's make one thing clear. From now on, no more secrets. No more manipulation. No more facades. Everyone deserves honesty, and no one is above accountability. The tension shifted slightly, but it remained thick, charged, raw. The confrontation had stripped away layers of pride, fear, and envy, leaving only the unvarnished truth. Jimin's voice softened, almost reflective. This isn't over. Every word, every decision, every action from now on will shape what comes next. None of us can escape the consequences. Jungkook's response was unwavering, resolute. I am ready. Every challenge, every betrayal, every expectation, I will face them all, and I will do it on my own terms. My truth is the only one I trust. The room exhaled collectively. The confrontation, the revelations, the emotional and psychological reckonings, everything had shifted. The fires of rivalry, trust, ambition, and unspoken truths had been ignited, and nothing would ever be the same again. The silent acknowledgement was clear. The past had led them here, and the future demanded courage, integrity, and unflinching honesty. Every bond would be tested, every secret exposed, every decision scrutinized, and no one could escape the repercussions. And as they faced each other, the weight of what had been revealed and the magnitude of what lay ahead hung in the air, undeniable, inescapable, and utterly transformative. You think you've won this, Jungkook? Jimin's voice cut through the silence like a blade. Sharp, accusing, impossible to ignore. You think surviving every challenge, defying every expectation makes you untouchable? You're wrong. Utterly wrong. I'm not trying to win, Jungkook replied evenly, his tone calm but firm. I'm trying to be myself. I'm done playing games, done pretending, done letting others dictate who I am. That's not arrogance, it's survival. That's not defiance, it's honesty. And it terrifies you, doesn't it, Hyung? Jimin's laugh was hollow, brittle with anger, yet laced with disbelief. Terrified? No. Infuriated, yes. Furious that you have the audacity to call out years of manipulation, betrayal, and unspoken truths as if they're yours to expose. You've hurt people, friends, allies, everyone around you, and you stand there daring me to challenge you? That's reckless, Jungkook. Reckless and dangerous. And yet here I stand, Jungkook said steadily, unflinching, deliberate. Not broken, not manipulated, not afraid. Every blow, every betrayal, every secret exposed it all proves one thing. I am stronger than you imagined, stronger than you believed possible. That's reality, Hyung. Accept it or not, it doesn't change the truth. Jimin's fists clenched at his sides, the tension radiating outward like heat from an open flame. You really think surviving pain, enduring betrayal, and facing scrutiny makes you superior? You've alienated allies, burned bridges, and risked every bond. And you still dare to confront me? You've crossed a line. I've crossed lines before, Jungkook replied evenly, deliberate, unyielding. Lines exist only until someone is brave enough to step beyond them. I am not afraid of consequences, Hyung. I am not afraid of judgment. I am not afraid of truth. And tonight, you've witnessed all of that. The room seemed to shrink around them. Everyone, Hobi, Taehyung, Yoongi, Namjoon, was caught between shock, awe, and the raw intensity of what was unfolding. No one spoke. No one dared intervene. The space had become a crucible, burning away pretenses, exposing vulnerability, and revealing the depth of their psychological and emotional realities. You've changed, Jimin said finally, his voice tight, strained. Not just in strength, not just in defiance. You've become reckless, Jungkook. Reckless in ways that hurt the people who care about you, who trust you, who have stood by you. I know the risks, Jungkook said calmly. I know what I am doing. I know the consequences, and I accept them. But I will not compromise my identity, my values, or my truth for anyone, not even you. If my choices hurt someone, I bear that responsibility. But I will not betray myself to make others comfortable. Namjoon stepped forward, his voice firm and decisive. Enough. Both of you have exposed years of tension, rivalry, and unresolved conflict. But it's no longer about winning or losing. It's about what happens next. Will this break us, or will it forge something stronger? There are no simple answers, but the choices we make now define the future. You think there's a simple solution? Jimin asked, bitter, incredulous. Untangling years of manipulation, betrayal, and unspoken truths is not something fixed with a single confrontation. You're brave, Jungkook, maybe even dangerously naive, but you refuse to be contained, to be controlled, and that terrifies me more than you know. I'm not naive, Jungkook said firmly. I am prepared. I've faced consequences, endured pain, survived betrayal. I've learned that no one else's perception can define me. I cannot be broken by envy, manipulation, or fear. I am my own measure, Hyung. That is the difference between us. The room fell silent, but it was not peaceful. It was heavy, charged, tense, the weight of confrontation, unspoken truths, psychological reckoning. Everyone present felt the collision of wills, the clash of identity, the spark of raw emotion. "You've rewritten everything tonight," Jimin said finally. "Quieter now, reflective yet powerful. Every assumption, expectation, and rule we followed, it's all changed. And I don't know if we can ever return to what we were." "I don't want to go back," Jungkook replied firmly. "I want to move forward, honest, strong, unafraid. I will face what comes next on my terms, uncompromised and unapologetic." Namjoon's voice broke through, decisive. "Then let's make one thing clear. From this moment on, no more secrets, no more manipulation, no more facades. Everyone deserves honesty, and no one is above accountability." The tension shifted subtly, though it remained thick and charged. The confrontation had stripped away layers of pride, fear, and envy, leaving only unvarnished truth. Jimin's voice softened, almost reflective. "This isn't over. Every word, decision, and action from now on will shape what comes next. None of us will escape the consequences." Jungkook's response was unwavering, resolute. "I am ready. Every challenge, betrayal, and expectation, I will face it all. And I will do so on my own terms. The only truth I trust is my own." The room exhaled collectively. The confrontation, revelations, emotional and psychological reckonings, everything had shifted. The fires of rivalry, trust, ambition, and unspoken truths had been ignited, and nothing would ever be the same. The silent acknowledgement was clear. The past had led them here, and the future demanded courage, integrity, and unflinching honesty. Every bond would be tested, every secret exposed, every decision scrutinized, and no one could escape the repercussions of this reckoning. And as they faced each other, the weight of what had been revealed and the magnitude of what lay ahead hung in the air, undeniable, inescapable, and utterly transformative. "You think this ends here?" Jimin's voice cut through the room like a knife, sharp, searing, impossible to ignore. "Do you think a single confrontation, a single revelation, can undo years of manipulation, lies, and betrayal? You're naive, Jungkook, dangerously naive." "I never claimed it would end," Jungkook replied calmly, his tone steady, resolute, but every word carried a fire that Jimin could neither ignore nor contain. "I never wanted it to end. I wanted truth. And what you call betrayal, manipulation, and lies, I call survival, strategy, and honesty. I've been living in reality, while you've been living in illusions. Hyung." Jimin's laugh was brittle, full of disbelief and suppressed anger.